What is going on, Florida State family, Seminole Nation in the 863 tribe? Is your boy POLK, a.k.a. a.lo, a.k.a. the goddamn truth. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Excuse me if I seem a little perplexed. I am, looks like I am live on YouTube. However, my stream isn't, it's showing, but it's not showing on my end for some reason. So I can't see comments unless I go to the YouTube site. So might not be able to highlight any comments until this starts generating the comments. It's always something when it comes to this technology. It never wants to work. Well, you are on what episode are we? 110. You are on episode 110 of The Hangover. And it is the day after FSU wins its second game of the season. Congratulations to the Noles for winning their second game of the year against a Charleston Southern. I did not watch the game live. I decided to spend the weekend with my daughter. It was her birthday. I said to myself, you know what? Well, her birthday was Thursday, and I decided, I'm not wasting my time watching this pathetic excuse for a football team. I'm going to go and take my daughter to do something for her birthday weekend, and that is exactly what we did. But FSU did end up winning that game. Luke Clement got the start. So we're going to talk about all of that. Obviously, there's still coaching searches going on, so there's a lot of talk about coaching and what's going on there. Who's FSU targeting? Who's going to eventually maybe be your offensive? A lot more smoke or a lot more excitement, I guess I should say, around the offensive coordinator position. Not so much around DC. DC's kind of gone under the radar here. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. We'll talk about that. But then again, FSU 2-9 on the year. Beats Charleston Southern, probably the worst FCS team in the country. They are now 1-11 on the year. So kudos to you guys. 41-7. And yeah, that from a little bit I saw, it was like midway through the second. I think it was like 3-0. But FSU did finish well, I guess, all things considered. Luke Clement goes 13 of 20 for 209 and 3 touchdowns. Brock Glenn got in there for a little bit. He was 3 for 3 for 31 yards. Camp Davis made his comeback, made his return, I should say. 9 carries, 39 yards. Keziah Holmes had 3 carries for 38 yards, 12, almost 13 yards per pop, 2 touchdowns. Told Philly 6 for 33. Clement had 31 yards on the ground. Singleton 4 for 21. So FSU ran for $175 and 2 touchdowns. Ja'Kai Douglas, leading receiver, 3 catches for 82 yards. You had Mekhi Danzy sighting with a pretty nice catch there. For one big catch for 38 yards. You had Landon Thomas with a really solid grab from the highlight I saw. He was 2 for 36. Hakeem had a touchdown grab and a pretty good catch. BJ Gibson sighting, 2 for 14. Unfortunately, a Darian Williamson sighting. Amari Williams had another touchdown on the year, 2 for 11. And Lawayne McCoy had a grab for 10 yards. Malik had 1 for 4 yards. And that basically sums up the offensive side of the ball there. Somehow FSU did not get a sack on that day. So much for the best defensive line in the country. But we knew that by now at this point. We knew that that wasn't a thing. Leading tackler Jabril Rawls with 7 total tackles, 6 solos. Sean Murphy sighting. He seemed to play a significant amount of minutes. Got 4 total tackles. He also had a tackle and a half for loss and a fumble recovery. Aaron Hester sighting. Just kind of going through maybe some of the new players. A lot of the young guys got a lot of burn in this game. For better or worse, I would say for better. Ashlyn Barker had an interception and 57 yards on the return. That sums up that game in, I guess, what you would call a nutshell. I hope everybody's having a great weekend. Again, I can't see your guys' comments, so I'm going to be clicking over and over. In the comments I can see on the app, I'm not able to highlight. Just know that I see you. Hit my like button, please. We'll do a quick roll call, man, and we'll get into the conversation bits because Again, I didn't do the instant reaction for reasons. Um, but here we go. Let's do a quick roll call, man, and then we'll just get into the conversation. So get into that comment section. I'll give a few more people time to get in the comments, and then I'll hit a quick roll call. This app, man, the streaming app is pissing me off because it's just not being convenient for me, guys. It's just not being convenient. 1 second as I click over. Here we go. We'll just get to this. We'll get straight to it and then won't waste no more time here. I got Briley in the building. Stino, Raul Torado. Joe Johnson says, I guess 2 wins better than 1. I guess so. Ice Cold Nose in the building. Vontae B, Todd Polk, Panama Jack, Tevin Strong, FSU, Tony, Jay Hutch, Mighty No 33. Again, get in that comment section by all means, please, as we go live here on this Sunday evening. And we'll talk a little bit of Florida State football. The season is what the season is. It is the official start of another rivalry week as we play the mighty Gators, who back-to-back have beaten LSU and Ole Miss. I don't want to turn this into a Gator love fest here, but it's got to be nice if you're a Gator fan to watch a team that has consistently gotten better over the years, despite multitude of injuries. They continue to play inspired ball. They've beaten 2 teams that most people had marked as L's in back-to-back weeks. Their D-line is playing well. I mean, the Gators overall, Lagway, again, looks like the real deal. At the end of the day, does anybody think you can beat the Gators? I'm not so sure about. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure about the fact that you won't beat them. What do you take? EMG in the building. What's going on? Happy Thanksgiving. This is Thanksgiving week too, by the way. So happy holidays to all of you in the chat, in the comments, and all that good stuff in the stream. Period. It's happy Thanksgiving to you. I don't know what the score is going to be. I don't expect it to be a pretty sight. But let's talk about this game in a little bit, because you did have some things, Luke Cromer. Let's start with Luke. So Luke loses his red shirt. Peter Shields, what's up? Luke Montre, Luke Jacob, Richard, all you guys that's hitting the chat up, appreciate you guys. Luke loses his red shirt. Now, I personally, Lewis P, in the building. Luke Croman Hope. I was of the opinion, and I stand by my opinion. Now, obviously, that's not the case, but just so we know what I'm talking about. FSU should have shut Luke down, in my humble opinion. Got him ready for next year, if possible. I mean, transfer portal is always unpredictable, so you don't know how any of that plays out. But FSU should have shut him down. One of the issues I've just had the entire year with the quarterback situation is that you just have guys, man, that aren't ready to play. You should have just, in my opinion, had Glenn finish out the year. I think you beat Charleston Southern, in my opinion, regardless of who the quarterback is. You can save a red shirt with Luke and have him as a red shirt freshman next year, depending on who your OC is. But instead, they went and they started him. He did have a good game statistically. If you go watch it, there's a lot of things to nitpick there. But ultimately, you just played a team that you flat out outgunned talent-wise, and they were able to get a win the second win of the year, probably the last win of the year, for being honest, as Mike Norvell is probably going to finish this year 2-10 in the year 5. There's some good things there from Luke, obviously, man. I just don't know how much. I just don't know how much it means, man. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I just, a lot of things is gonna really depend on who you hire. I'm so, how do I say this? Over it. I'm just over it, man. I am over this, obviously, this season, but I'm over the whole Mike Norvell. I have a hard time, and maybe this stream will turn into me just thinking that I don't know how you bounce back next year, regardless of who you hire, with the head coach being who the head coach is. And the fact that I'm watching the Gators and I'm watching other teams improve throughout the season. And this team, in my opinion, has done nothing but get worse. It's done nothing but regress from game 1 all the way to now. I mean, I think the offensive line, how do I say this? I think there are players on that offensive line. This is my conspiracy theory. You can run with it or not, whatever. I think there are players on that O-line that have purposely tanked this year. There's no logical explanation when I watch how bad, not just one player or two players, but like how bad the entire O-line is. I can't put it into a logical explanation of how bad it is, how inept they are, how they don't know and are not capable of the basics of run and pass blocking. Other than to say, I think guys are purposely purposely sabotaging this team. Maybe this will come out later on, and maybe we'll find out that the entire O-line was betting on games and they were like throwing game. I don't know. It is egregious on that offensive line in every aspect. One of the reasons why I didn't want Luke going forward. Like, he's lost his red shirt. So at this point, you got to sit here and you got to say, well, you might as well play again. I mean, he'll probably be the starter against Florida. Oh man, I feel for Luke, because even though statistically he had a decent game, anybody that's watching Luke Kromenhoek can tell when the pressure gets around him, he freezes. Not entirely. I mean, it's his fault, right? Obviously, but you got a young guy, hasn't played a lot at the position. He should be a guy that's probably sitting a year or two, learning the position, then he can get in there. But he's been thrust into the fire because you've had this abysmal season. But whenever pressure is around him, he's indecisive, freezes. He's going to sit there. He's going to hold the ball. He's going to take, and that's just what young, inexperienced guys do, right? That's just what young guys do. I mean, not to veer off to the Colorado Buffaloes, they're having a good season, mind you. But Shedeur has some of those same traits, and that's an experienced quarterback who will be drafted probably in the first round. But you can say, well, Shedeur does that because he's trying to look and make a play. Point is, Shedeur holds the ball too long. A lot of times he makes and takes sacks and has negative plays where he shouldn't. Right? That's something in Shedeur's and his progression as a quarterback that he needs to address. Right? Getting rid of the ball when nothing's there. Now Luke's a freshman doing these things, so that just leads to my point. Like this, what you're seeing, in my opinion, is to be expected. That Florida defensive front is going to feast this upcoming game. What is Luke Kromenhoek gaining from being in this game? I'm not so sure. We'll see going forward. But that's kind of where I want to start with, because he did, again, statistically play well. Threw 3 touchdowns, ran the ball. I mean, he tried to make plays when they were there. I when I watch him, I think there's a lot of definitely a lot of promise with him. He has the tools. They just really need to be refined. Like, they need to get in the lab with that young man and really coach that and develop that up if possible. And I don't know if throwing him in this type of situation is the way to go. But at this point, it's a moot point, because that's what they're going to go with. Obviously, I think the writing's on the wall there. I don't know if that means Brock Glenn is out. Frankly, if I'm a quarterback in that room, I'm probably really waiting to see who. And there's a lot of smoke around Brandon Marion. I mean, everything from Wikipedia saying he's the next FSU OC to, I think Warchant was even breaking down Brandon Marion's offense, almost as if there's some type of backdoor agreement that's already been had there. But a lot of things also are in play. We'll talk about that going forward. Luke Kromenhoek, probably statistically, obviously the best quarterback game of the year. Again, I can't highlight you guys' comments, but I will read them because they're just not popping up on the app on the live stream. But they are, obviously, I can go to the YouTube page and I can see all you guys' comments. So let's start with Keith Quaz says, not sure Luke is the answer. With the terrible O-line, do you think we should go into the portal for a QB like Castellanos? Personally, I am not. Let me say, everything as far as player personnel wise goes, you've got to wait to see, who they hire. I would rather not go with a quarterback. Like, I understand why people are intrigued with them, especially if we're going to go offense and all that good stuff. I get why people are intrigued. I think Florida State, and this might sound crazy to some, but you know me, I don't care about being politically correct per se, or I don't necessarily care about being correct, because at the end of the day, I'm just giving my opinions. I want to believe that the quarterback's on the roster. I want to believe out of the 3 guys you got, Brock Glenn, Jackson, and Kromenhoek, that one of these guys can run the offense, whoever the offensive coordinator is next year. That's what I want to believe. And that you can use that money. And you just got to commit from a guy out of Denton. I forget the kid's name. I'm not even sure. Not a guy that I expect to contribute per se, or be necessarily in the mix to play next year. Though anything's possible, especially depending on, again, who you hire. Maybe that kid committed based off the knowledge of, probably a lot of backdoor conversations happening. I got to think Norvell and company, the ones that are still left recruiting on this staff, are telling people, we know who we're going after. I don't necessarily know that anything's been verbally said, because I think that stuff would have leaked. But I guess, I'm saying all that to say that I just don't want, I want to use whatever money, resources, whatever is available to build out the rest of the team. Like, your offensive line is going to need a major rehaul. That's just what it's going to need. Thank God some guys are going to be forced to move on. But they're just going to major O-line, like, got to be like 5. Like, I don't know how many guys you take in the portal. With O-line coach, offensive coordinator, all that good stuff. We're going to have to go and we're going to have to see who they can plug in and play. But it's just going to be a major haul, and I feel like that's where you need to, because if you can run the ball, then you can make the job easier on the young quarterback. I just want to believe that the quarterback's already on the roster, and you can use the resources you have to use the resources you have to fill some major holes along the rest of the team, preferably in the trenches on both sides of the ball. But appreciate that question. And again, bear with me on the comments because just the way everything's playing out. So, but I appreciate that question from Keith Quaz. Noel Fan says, yo, Pope, I feel like our team going to be a lot better next year if we really focus on mainly the offensive line and D-line, the trenches, because those are the two areas that luckily experience the portal can fix. I'm not so sure. I agree with majority of what you're saying here, Noel Fan. The thing is, man, with the O-line, we've done the portal thing and it hasn't worked. Now maybe that's evals. They have evaluated those pieces wrong. It's going to be interesting. Again, everything boils down to O-line, OC, O-line coach, and what is going to be. Like, I'm just so curious to see what we're running next year and who we hire. I think who we hire is going to tell a lot about Mike Norvell going forward. I'm not confident he can turn it around, but who he hires is going to tell you where his mindset is. If he hires a guy who we've never heard of, or a guy that, is a ho-hum hire, a guy that we assume Norvell's still going to have main call over the offense and priority of the offense, then it's going to be, to me, I don't know if much changes. But if he goes up there and hires a guy that isn't coming here unless he is the primary play caller, unless he's actually designing the offense, that gives me a little bit more hope. But I agree with you in the sense of, like I was saying about the quarterback thing, prioritizing the trenches on both sides of the ball should be the main focus in the portal. I think you got the skill position guys as guys like Singleton and Dancy. Now, there's also preferences. Do you keep these guys when the portal hits? Keeping these guys on your roster. That's going to be a talking point tonight too, because I think FSU has good pieces moving forward. I think Landon Thomas and Amari Williams can be a dynamic tight end duo. I think the young BJ Gibson, and I think these young receivers are promising. Even Hakeem. I know a lot of people want to give up on Hakeem Williams. I was never in the boat of giving up. I'm not in the boat of giving up on anything that's a sophomore below, because those guys still have a lot of growth and a lot of time to get where they need to be. Those juniors, especially those COVID juniors and seniors that still exist out there, I'm all for kind of pushing them out. I believe a lot of those guys are capped. But your Hakeem Williams and these guys, hey, man, I think there's a lot of promise with that. I think your skill positions are promising. You have enough pieces there that I'm not saying you don't go in the portal and you don't get some guys. Obviously, instant impact guys if possible. But I think your young guys, you get Dustin Hill back next year. I think your young guys with a new voice, new person maybe leading them, coaching them, can have some success next year. How much? That all depends to be seen. But again, you got to fix the old line. And I think everything else may very well fall into place there. Appreciate that, Noel Fan. Panama Jack says, we need Charleston Southern and Cal to be scheduled in the first 2 games of the season, right? I hear that. Antonio Jenkins says, the culture has – this is an interesting comment. I want to talk about this for a little bit. The culture has to be established moving forward. We have to find our identity as a team. That will start with how the team is constructed. People give War Chant and they give 247 and they give the main beat writers, the main FSU media. People gave them a lot of heat this year based on what was essentially been called lies. They lied all off season to us. They didn't know what they were looking at, and this team is what it is, and nobody saw it, and here we are. And while there's maybe some truth to that, I'll tell you something that they didn't lie about, and I think that's something that's majorly missing on this team that you've seen from game one going forward. And this speaks to that culture part that Antonio's talking about. They told y'all in the offseason there were no on-field leaders on this team. Sure, there were guys who are individually talented. Joshua Farmer is a perfect example of that. Who I think individually, Joshua Farmer is a very talented football player. But he doesn't elevate anybody else around him, not even necessarily with his play. I don't know how you find those guys. Leadership is, and I always say leaders are sort of born, not made. Guys just have to have that natural magnetism to them and all that good stuff. But they need guys in the locker room to hold each other, their peers, accountable, and that's fairly obvious that does not exist on this football team at all. There is obviously no players, and it really sucks that the guys that you think could be leaders. The problem is, we talked about guys like Roy Dell and even Malik Benson to a degree, and a DJU. Like, they can be the leaders on this team. Well, one year guys, like guys that you are just bringing in, they don't know the rest of the players on the roster from a can of paint, and then you're asking them to come in and just flat out lead. It doesn't work like that. Obviously, it didn't work like that. So the point I'm getting at with that take is simply there's got to be guys in that locker room right now, and I don't care if they're freshmen, that are saying to themselves, you know what, we can't. It don't matter who the coach is or coaches are. We got to hold each other accountable. We've got to, someone's multiple have to start establishing some locker room leadership. A lot of components going into next year with this team. This team is not a simple hire new coordinators, fix the team type of deal, in my opinion. It's you are going to have to get, and I don't think that the major problem with this team were the players, but you are going to have to get guys, certain guys, and most of those guys, I think their eligibility just runs out. But you're going to have to get those guys, for lack of a better term, just out of the program. And I don't mean it as like they're cancers. I don't mean it like they're bad kids. It's just simply, it's fairly obvious to me that the message, whatever that was, ran tone deaf across the board. That nobody was tuned into anything that was being said. And that came from coaches and the like. So you get the new coaches in, and then you get some new players, man, to just stand up and say, I mean, at the end of the day, we're the ones on the field looking like idiots. We can't allow certain things in practice to go unchecked. If a bad rep happens, I need a player to get in there and say, no, man, you do that again, that's unacceptable. We'll see how that pans out. But I think that's a lot. I think that's some of the stuff that we should hopefully be looking for. When you talk about the culture has to be established, Antonio. After seeing Danzy's catch, you think he should be put in a slot. I think Danzy can be a weapon. I don't know if Danzy's they kind of said that when they recruited him. I don't know if Danzy's a true back. They kind of said he was on the Toafili model, where a lot of people wasn't so sure Lawrence Toafili was ever a true running back, more of a gadget type player. Probably the same for Danzy. Is he a better receiver? I think, again, you get this new offensive coordinator. You get him around these players, and we'll determine where a guy like Mekhi Danzy fits best, for sure. He could be a slot guy. Who knows? I look at I say that because I'm looking at the guy at SMU, the running back. I forget his name, but Miami fans will know his name. I see Galaxy King in the building. He'll know his name. He'll know who I'm talking about. I think it's Brashard Smith. I don't quite remember. But he was a receiver at Miami. And they moved him to tailback at SMU, and he's had a hell of a year. You know, a different vision. Maybe you look at Danzy and say, nope, you know what? I know what they recruited you as, but we're going to move you here because you'll be more effective there. That's maybe what you can see in Danzy's future as you get, again, that new staff in here. Montre says Cam Ward didn't know Miami's players. A little bit different situation there. Obviously, Cam Ward is more talented, right? So his play just spoke volumes. Now, again, whether or not he knew the Miami players or not just kind of goes back to what I said in terms of leadership or leaders aren't necessarily made, but they just are who they are. One, his play spoke more than he probably had to. Plus, when you look at the way Cam Ward carries himself, Miami guys could speak better than this, but he carries himself as such. Just compare that to DJU. Did anybody ever look at DJU and say he carries himself like a guy who was commanding? I don't think so. So, again, I think it's a tough ask to ask those first-year guys to come in and lead guys they don't know, especially when the play doesn't reflect anything that would make people – you can say what you want about Cam Ward, not knowing or whatever, but his play demanded the respect. You can't deny that, in my opinion. The play demanded the respect. And because of Cam Ward, Miami is where they are, offensively anyway. I think Miami as an offense is one of the best offenses, obviously, in the country. Now, I don't think the defense. I think at SMU, potential SMU Miami conference championship game is going to be very interesting. I think that will be very high scoring game. High scoring game. KCS, I know it's Charleston Southern, but the DNs seem to play better without Marvin Jones Jr. rotation. I can't take much out of it. I hear what you're saying, but I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that Marvin Jones Jr. was out of the rotation or the fact that you just, again, you played a 1-9, 1-10. They're 1-11 now, Charleston Southern team. Like you legit played the worst FCS school in the country. I don't think that necessarily speaks to Marvin Jones Jr. being in or out of the rotation. I just think that's the caliber of player that you played on Saturday. Great question here from Keith. I like this question. Polk, how many wins does Mike need to keep his job in 2025? He needs the exact same amount of wins that he has losses this year. I'm going to just go ahead and say it before anybody else says it. Because I know that's going to be a talking point as we get closer to next season, and people are going to say, well, what's an acceptable year in year 6? Oh, they were 2-9. So just getting to 6 wins is going to be great. Just get us to a bowl game. Nah. I'm not one of those. Y'all know how I am. If you lost, Mike Norvell he's broken every record that there is to break at Florida State, and not the good ones. First time in the history of being in the ACC that Florida State will finish last in this conference under Norvell's tenure. The first time you ever lost to an FCS school under Mike Norvell's tenure. 0-4 start under Mike Norvell's tenure. We can go on and on. I don't necessarily need to do that. The point is, he needs this team. If you want me to take Mike Norvell serious, you're talking about 9 or 10 wins next year, man. You got to do this Complete 180. You gotta flip it. You went from 13-0 to 2 and what you're gonna be 2-10. Yeah. So I need that same energy next year. I need another 10-win season. 9 at a minimum. You do play Bama next year. And obviously you got the game with Florida, Miami, and Clemson. Like those are the 4 games next year. Like, I don't know. Can you go 2-2 in those games? And then you got to beat the rest of the ACC schedule. So for me, like, I'm not making it easy. This isn't year 2 or 3 anymore. We're talking at that point, year 6. Immediate turnaround. FSU doesn't have another 3 or 4 years to build it back up. I mean, I guess they do, but if FSU is building again in year 6, then we got to come to grips with the type of program that we are then. And it's not a serious one. We are no longer amongst the college football elite or potential elite, if that's what we're shooting for. Anything less than 10-9 for me is unacceptable, and I'll stand by that. I don't care if it's 6, 7, 8 wins. I don't care. I don't care. There's enough talent on this team, enough young talent. You know, Mike Norvell, you dug the. This is the classic scenario of you burnt the house down. Do you get credit for putting the fire out, or do you get the blame for burning it down? I don't care about whether Mike Norvell's the coach going forward, to be quite honest with you. I could give a damn. I really do not care. If it was up to me, this season is a fireable offense anyway. You got to rebuild somehow anyway. You might as well rebuild with an entirely new head football coach. But if we're just going 6-6 and that's appeasing, which I'm starting to see, to be honest with you, the new age of the Florida State football fan is kind of pathetic. If I'm just being bluntly honest with a lot of y'all, there's a lot of y'all that y'all will accept a 7-win season. I don't know if it's because people like inherently like Mike Norvell. Don't know. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, obviously, but I don't, I don't care about if Mike Norvell's a good guy or not. Like that's just me. But there's a lot of Florida State fans that I feel like will accept that. They'll be cool with it. And I just think it's, it's fan base it is what it is at this point. It is what it is. Let's go on to some more comments here. Someone asked, Richards asked, you think Surtain is gone? What do you think about Cromartie being the next DB coach? Patrick Surtain, there's a lot of smoke around, that Southern Miss job and some other things with him. I think I said about a month ago, like I would not be shocked if he left. Obviously, you're getting a new defensive coordinator. How does that relationship? Is that a guy that Surtain is eventually gonna obviously want to work for? It would not shock me if you're asking me, do I think he's gone? I would say there's a problem. In my opinion, I think there's probably a 70% chance that Patrick Surtain takes a job elsewhere. Can't blame him. Not sure you want to be, in the building, and then especially if Southern Miss is going to give you a head coaching opportunity. If I'm Patrick Surtain at your alma mater, I take that job. That's a big hire for Southern Miss because it's Southern Miss. So just having Patrick Surtain as your head football coach will have some intriguing ramifications on the recruiting trail, I think. Not Deion Sanders-esque per se, but I think he would potentially do pretty good job there. So I wouldn't be shocked. And almost at this point, I'm expecting we'll be hiring another DB coach. As far as Antonio Cromartie goes, if he has smoothed over that relationship with Mike Norvell, then sure, bring him in. I'm not necessarily against it. I have kind of said that I don't know if we continue to want to hire at former Knowles and how that works. But If he can smooth over that relationship, then sure, give him a hire. I'm not against it. Not against it. To me, he needs 9 to 10 wins, but I think the administration will settle for 7 to 8. Norvell needs to give some of that money back to the university or give the $2 million to something. You need to do something. I'm with you there, Irv. You need to do something. What's up, Terrence? Terrence asking for the lane. And give me a second, Terrence. Todd says they need to play good spring with not all the. Hey, bro, I've been saying that since Mike was hired, but what do I know? Again, I'm just a light-skinned dude on YouTube. Haven't been a fan of the way Mike Norvell runs the spring game. I don't understand why we just don't do good on good in the spring and run a traditional spring football game and have guys play. No, we do a bunch of BS. They've been doing it since Mike Norvell get here, and a lot of that stuff, I think you see the product on the field more times than not. At the end of the day, again, I don't really care if you like him or not. His tenure at Florida State has been a failure. He's been here 5 years. 3 of those 5 years have been losing seasons. Now, I'm not a math expert, but in kindergarten, if you get 2 questions right on a 5-question test, that's a failing grade. Mike Norvell has failed as the FSU football coach. 3 of his 5 years have been losing seasons. That is point blank, period. That's not arguable. That is factual. That's not opinion. That's not emotions. That is what that is. That is what that is. If you can't tell, I'm pretty much off the Norvell train. I'm kind of sick of that. I don't see it improving, ladies and gentlemen. That is just the facts of it for me. I just, as much as I want to believe, and believe me, I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna be watching it like you guys. I'm gonna be rooting for it. I don't believe he can turn it around. And if he does, I'll be here saying shout out to Mike because he turned it around. Should have never got to that point, but shout out to him. But it's gonna have to be an immediate turnaround, in my opinion. And I also think some of that might hinder, I don't know, who you could potentially hire. You know? Terrence sent that link. What's up, Grand Champion? Do I think Kenny Shaw would be a good coach for the Noles? Okay. I'm trying to, I don't want to come off as like disrespectful. I really don't. But at the end of the day, guys, can I ask? I just want to ask. I'll ask this question, then I'll answer the question, Todd. Todd, by the way, again, I can't highlight questions on the screen, but Todd in the chat asked, do I think Kenny Shaw would be a good, I'm assuming, wide receiver coach for the Seminoles? Listen, folks. We're at we're the crossroad. We're past the crossroads. Okay. What are we, when we put a name like Ken, I'm not doubting. Again, I don't know Kenny Shaw's coaching acumen or anything like that. I'm trying to be careful with what I say, but I'm about to just say bump it because at the end of the day, it's not like I care. How do you fire Ron Dugans and Alex Atkins, and then you tell me that Kenny Shaw is the answer? Okay, we're talking about needing to turn this thing around as soon as possible. Now, does Kenny Shaw have any other coaching experience? Has he coached at any university? Now, if you want to bring Kenny Shaw in as an off-field analyst, cool. Like they did with O'Leary, go for it. If you want to bring him in an off-field role, no. Something like that, bro, 100%. But straight into wide receiver coach? Well, I'll be damned. In my opinion, then we're not even trying to be a serious football team as far as I'm concerned. If that's the end game, if the answer is Kenny Shaw, then okay. Here we are. FSU. Congratulations. You're a mediocre mid-tier ACC team going forward. It's got nothing. There's no personal vendetta against Shaw. Nothing against him. And you know what? He could go somewhere, get an opportunity, and shut me the hell up. 100%. But FSU is in a position to be hiring these experimental projects. At least not the Florida State that I grew up loving and watching. We need some definitive answers on the coaching staff. You think Mike Norvell is going to hinder his future on Kenny Shaw? I don't believe that. Hell, I'd be more attuned to go hire Rashard Green because at least he coached for Jimbo over there at Texas A&M for a little bit. I don't know what Rashard Green is doing right now. But at least if you said Rashard Green, I go, okay, that's a guy that's actually had some coaching experience at a major SEC school. Well, we're talking about Kenny Shaw, who all I know is that he runs camps in Orlando, if I'm not mistaken. I'll be the bad guy there. You guys welcome Terrence in. He's gonna what's up, T? I think you're muted, bro. I can't hear you.
Kenny Shaw.
There you go. Yeah, what do you think about that question? Kenny Shaw.
Why? Why?
No, I'm asking.
It doesn't. I mean, you said everything as far as why it wouldn't make sense. I'm looking, and usually, there's something about what his career is going on after football. I don't see anything. Yeah, I heard about the camp stuff, and that's cool. But why? I mean, it would make sense. Like, it's a lot of guys and a lot of names that have been getting thrown out, and I'm just like,
and that's expected, right? We're here. There's a lot of names.
But you made a point. Why is Mike Norvell willing? Why would he hinge his career, like his
on Kenny Damn Shaw?
If he's really going to go out and make a change, why Kenny Shaw?
Doesn't make sense.
Why Antonio Cromartie, who didn't buy in the Mike Norvell at all? Why would he go and get him?
That's something that people aren't even talking. People forget Antonio Cromartie on Twitter, who was bashing Mike Norvell and that coaching staff when he first took that job.
And I mean,
so the expectation that he's all of a sudden going to hire this guy, I think is far-fetched. Maybe they can have a conversation like two men, hash it out, and give the man a job.
Now we look back at some of the things that Antonio Cromartie said, and
maybe Antonio's gripe was more so with Fuller than it was with Mike. That might be a fair point as well. But I just remember what was being said.
So, yeah. Dang, that's weird. Why can't I see the...
Yeah, my comments aren't... I don't know, man. You talking about the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, the chat's not showing up. So you
got both of them up?
You got to have to go to the YouTube channel and watch the chat. Yeah.
I set something up. But at the end of the day, man, I just think... Yeah, Kenny Shaw, that don't make no sense, man. And it's like you said, it's not even a shot at Kenny. It just don't. What are we doing? There is one thing I do want to point out. You said the Florida State that you know, that you grew up on, is getting to a point where, because the thing is for us. From 99 to 2013, that's 3 championships in that 15 years for us that we got to experience.
Mm-hmm.
That's us growing up, so when we talk about that's what we grew up on, there are people out here who got the 2013 taste and
don't know. Yeah, and that's
they don't understand the concept of a certain standard being required. Like,
no,
as
I'm
far
convinced.
as what we're
I'm
doing.
convinced of that.
And
I feel like the majority of the fan base didn't really become fans till 2013.
I'm trying to get this camera to stop messing up the focus. But yeah, man, it's we expect. You got to understand that maybe we were spoiled. Even when we had turnover at the OC position, we were bringing in guys who had some type of pedigree. Like, when we got rid of the Bowden Jr., which Bowden was that? That was the OC for a little bit, and everybody was crying and complaining.
Jeff
Which
Bowden.
one was that? Jeff. So when we got rid of him, like, we were bringing in guys who had some type of pedigree. We had guys before him that had a pedigree and were good OCs. So now it's like, oh, they don't understand. People don't understand that it wasn't just anybody coming in to coach this team. And I guess you can say after not having a succession plan for Jimbo, because nobody saw that coming, well, the way that it did and the way that it happened, the program kind of just fell apart with that standard. And it's not even blaming Willie Taggart, but he was a part of what that just, like, the standards just started to go away. Like, we're going to try this guy. He won some games at this program, but yeah. So, I mean, and then on top of all of that, the hire of Mike Norvell, you got to look at the hire of him as that type of, like, okay, we're not going out there and getting the best guy out there. He's not the guy coming in to come in and fill a position. Now, mind you, a head coach situation is a little bit different, but we had a succession plan for Bowden and getting Jimbo. Jimbo could have got a lot of other head coaching jobs at that time. You agree?
When he was at Florida State?
When he came into Florida State, while he was with Florida State under Bobby.
Well, Texas, while Bobby was still here, I think that's one of the reasons why they pushed Bobby out when they did, because of that. They always brought Jimbo with the intention of him being the coach in waiting. I think that was even announced when he was hired.
Yeah, he was always the coach in waiting, head coach in waiting. He was always in this situation. So,
and I think it got to the point that they pushed Bobby out, and then we know for a fact, I want to say 2014 or 2015, LSU rumors started circling. When did Jimbo leave? After 2016, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the year before that, everybody was talking about, I want to say Texas, because I think at that time Texas had hired Charlie Strong, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And FSU gave Jimbo a nice bump in salary. They did what they could to keep him in terms of paying him. Jimbo could have went to another school.
Like, and then people like
ultimately the perfect storm just Francois goes down game one. That team essentially kind of falls apart, and they weren't willing to appease Jimbo at that time with the facilities and things of that nature. So he did what he did. Yeah. But let me see.
I got corrected. Yeah, that's pretty much all I mean. I think we played for 3 championships between that in that time frame. Is what I was meaning to say. I apologize. We only won 2, but we played for 3. I feel like another one was on the line and we lost.
NK says, "POLK, are you concerned about any of the young guys transferring out?" Of course I am. It's the transfer portal, bro. I am 100% concerned with the
I wouldn't be surprised by anybody transferring.
Me neither. There's not a name on this roster.
There's not a soul that would surprise me
that I'd be like, oh my God, I'm shocked. No, I fully expect teams to actively recruit some of this young talent.
Maybe Luke Cromano.
That wouldn't shock me. That wouldn't shock me either because Luke doesn't even know who his offensive coordinator is at this point.
Only reason it'll shock me is because he's almost written in as in pen as the starter next year. Who else? That's kind of where we're at. Yeah, who else we're gonna start? Like, as we are right now, as this roster is right now, I don't see a big name transfer QB coming in because we don't have an OC. It would take us signing an OC at one of these programs that has a tie to a quarterback for a quarterback to come here.
Irv says, how many guys from the portal does Novell need to bring for next season? I don't know 30. If there's I don't know if there's 30. A number. I don't know if there's a number on it, but
30.
Again, you've got to retool your trenches, man. You have to. If I ask you right now, who's playing? What's your defensive line even look like next year?
What?
You can't name.
Who's gonna come back? Well, remember, most of the starters are juniors.
Farmer's not coming back, bro.
Okay, Farmer's gone.
Guarantee you that. Patrick.
I told you how I felt about Patrick.
Pat should come back.
I don't think he comes. I think he comes back to college.
He need to take a major pay cut, and why would he? If I'm Pat Payton, why would I take a pay cut? And there's probably going to be an SEC team that pay him decent money. And
to be their second best pass rusher.
Right, and he'll be in a position where he flourished in years past, being like Terrence just said, the second best pass rusher potentially. So I don't, bro. I think Darrell Jackson probably going to follow Farmer to the NFL because even though his maybe on-field play, which isn't terrible.
That's a big man.
But exactly, he's an NFL body. He's an NFL body, so he has NFL athletes.
330.
Yeah, he got NFL athleticism, NFL body. If I'm Jackson, I'm going to the NFL too, or So I have no idea who the hell's even going to be on your D line.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Marvin Jones Jr. stays. And I mean, y'all see how y'all feel about that. Not many people are very excited about that, and I understand that. So yeah, so Pope, bro, like I can't fathom that these guys that we recruited are just that bad on the offensive line side of things.
I'm trying to figure out what happened. I don't know what happened. Again, I think
so when you say retool,
I think guys
and guys like Simmons and Early and Armella are there. It's dumbfounding to me. Like and just like when I saw that, well, I can't even remember who the dude was that started over. Like, and I was like, how the hell is he started? He was a freshman. Like, what did he prove in practice that these guys didn't do?
You're talking about Otto.
Yeah. I was like, dang. Because he wasn't on my radar at all, to be honest. And I mean, I'm not always the most knowledgeable person about, that second and third level of, who's on the depth chart, but I just didn't see that coming. So it's like I said, it's dumbfounding.
It would be very what's the word I'm looking for? It would be very crazy. That's probably a better word. If this new guy was able to, like, imagine seeing Julian Armella actually start next year and play well under a new offensive mind. I mean, that'll just tell you everything that you kind of need to know as far as why the offense has been so.
So we blame Atkins in that.
I don't know.
I'm asking.
I guess you have to, right? You have to.
And then that comes, but I hear that, but then where does Mike come in? Like, what is Mike held accountable for, bro? Like,
well, he gets held accountable for all of it because he's the head coach.
So now you're looking at like an offense that will be operating well in spite of Mike Norvell.
So right. So let's say next year the offense takes off, and regardless of who, I don't know who's going to be the offensive coordinator, but let's just say it's Marion. That seems to be the trending name right now.
God.
And the offense takes off. I'm gonna tell you right now. Mike Norvell's not gonna get any praise from me if that offense is great next year. Because then to me it's gonna be blatant that he was the issue.
Low key, I don't even want Marion to come into this type of situation, bro. If I'm Marion, I don't tie myself to Mike Norvell. I don't come in as an OC under him. If I'm him, be honest.
Do you see this? Do you see this comment by Irv? Irv, I'm gonna pin this comment. I'm gonna pin it. That's the best way I can highlight comments right now. So I'm just gonna pin it. But Irv says, hold on. How do I? Irv says, did you guys hear that Atkins had to be escorted out by police? It got a bit heated. And now rumors has it that he's an analyst in Gainesville trying to flip the FSU O-line recruits to Florida. Well, he's already flipped one if that's the case.
Yeah.
He's already flipped one. I don't think I haven't thought Solomon Thomas was going to end up in this class for 4 months now, so that's irrelevant to me.
He flipped?
Huh? No, he hasn't. No, he hasn't flipped.
It's coming.
It's coming.
But
the other one did flip. I mean, I didn't hear that, Irv. I don't know where you heard it. I'm not saying it's not true, but bro, I who can confirm that? Right? Who can? Antoine said it. Can anyone confirm that? Like,
I mean,
escorted out by police. That tells me
he has more.
For him to be escorted out by police, does that mean the police were called? So there would be a public record of that? Like,
exactly.
It wouldn't be hard to confirm if true.
But then again, you're on site. They have police on site.
That's true.
Somebody be like, hey,
that's true.
Hey, come get old boy. He trying to go at. I don't know.
Wilding out.
Who was he trying to go at?
I'm assuming Mike.
Mike?
It had to be Mike. I guess he got fired and said, "Hey, they gonna fire me, buddy." I don't know.
I would understand that. This damn screen. Yeah, I can understand him. I wouldn't be surprised at him going off. But I think he had, from what I've seen of him, it seemed like he has more class than that for that to happen. Now, him ending up at UF and flipping the guys, I wouldn't put that past him. I'd be pissed if I was him.
I think No Sir Not Me brings up a good point. He can coach at another team, but I think it has to be like approved by the NCAA because of the show cause.
Oh, well, he can be an analyst though. Why can't he be an analyst?
I don't know if he can take another job. Period. I don't know the depths of that, but I do remember reading that he like it had to be approved or something for him to take another job. So. I don't care about that rumor. Listen, guys, y'all know I don't.
It doesn't matter, bro.
Operate in that
gossip.
FSU's fan base, man. We are in a interesting. There has been a lot of beefs and BS going on right now. Yeah, so I don't know, bro. I don't have. Irv says someone told me who has a subscription with War Chant. Said it was posted saying that he was upset that Mike used him as the fall guy. Okay.
That wouldn't be surprising because Mike did use him as his fall guy. He uses coordinators as his fall guys. I mean, that's his parachute. Most coaches do that. Like, that's not a surprise. But, I mean, if now Atkins responding that way, I don't know.
Yeah, that seems kind of like whatever. But hey, man, who knows?
Yeah, man. Just
Let's get that out
at the end of the
here.
day, like as far as this program is concerned, man. I mean, you mentioned he needs to win as many games as he lost, which is what end up being 10, um, 9 or 10 or what 10 most likely losses. Um, he still will be under 500 without Jordan Travis, um, and I just don't see him winning that many games next year at all.
I mean, I don't see it either. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you what
You would want.
what needs to happen. Like I said the same thing about year 3 when we were coming off of the that 5-7 season, and everybody in year 3 was saying, well, what's a proper season in year 3 for Mike Norvell? And don't let people lie to you. Everybody was saying 6-7 games, just making a bowl game in year 3. I was the first one to go, no. 9-10 wins. Now he got that. But the reason I said that was because your program needs to have something to sell to get the talent to get where you want to go. Now, unfortunately, didn't realize that the staff was so inept that they couldn't sell a 10-win followed by a 13-win season. That's the sad part. But I'm back on that same logic.
Hey, we just won 23 games in the past 2 years.
I'm back on that same logic of if you want to recruit, and if you're telling me that you're going to hire some legit recruiters, well, you got to have a product to sell. And 6-7 wins ain't a product to sell. Not when I'm watching that. Not when I'm watching that quarterback in Gainesville. And Lagway looks like the next hot thing. Not when I'm
That's
watching
what I wanted to talk about. Like you're talking about, you're going to hire recruiters. Say you do bring in Marion. What does that solve on the recruiting front and bringing in talent?
Well,
are people just going to want to play because they see the offense is fun? Is that is that going to recruit? It's a lot of fun offenses out here.
I think you got to look at Marion. You got to look at the way he presents himself. I mean, the guy got the go-go chain, so he's got things that young people will definitely appeal to. Which I think the staff needs a fusion of coaches that can appeal to young guys, or obviously the high schooler. So when you got your nickname at the go-go offense, like these things, kids will buy into stuff like that. In my opinion, yeah, I do think he would recruit fairly well here at Florida State. But it all just stems from, is Mike Norvell going to be able to be the closer that a head coach needs to be on the recruiting trail? Can he do that?
He has proven not to be.
At this point, he's absolutely proven that he can't do it.
Flying in on the choppers and all that, it ain't working. Chopper been all over Central Florida. Ain't nothing happened. So I don't see it being. But like I said, that's why I don't know if Marion is the guy. In my opinion, I'm not saying I don't like him or that I wouldn't like the offense. It's too many. And for him as a career move, it's not a good move. For me, in my opinion, I don't know if coming here with Mike, coming in as an OC for Mike.
It's a good move if, again, first of all, I don't believe he comes here if he's not calling the offense. So that's first. He's not going to go from UNLV, where he's in complete control of the offense, to Florida State, where he's going to have to hand over the offense. Like, if that's the case, and I agree with you, that's not a good career move. I think he's smarter than that. I think Norvell, I want to believe, is smarter than that. Now, coming from UNLV to Florida State is a good career move. But a lot of it just hinges on what is Mike Norvell willing to give up in terms of control of the offense. Can he take a step back and focus on the things that let the coordinators coach, and maybe he can focus on being a closer? And because from everything I hear, it's not like Norvell doesn't create good relationships. It's just that he doesn't prioritize those relationships. And in recruiting, 101, you got to prioritize the relationships.
And I want to be clear because Irv just asked a question. I don't know who I wanted as the OC. That's why I'm at a loss right now. As far as where it's hard for me to say who I want as the OC when I'm not behind who the head coach is at all. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. So take from that what you want. I think there's a larger problem that isn't resolved, and that's Mike Norvell being the head coach of this program. I get that.
Panama says he's more concerned about O-line coach than OC. Nah, OC is more important. OC is going to determine what kind of O-line you're even using. Are you running a zone scheme? Like what? The offensive coordinator is more important. That's why most OCs bring their O-line coach with them. Like your offensive coordinator is the more important of the two. I'm not saying offensive line coach isn't important, but your O-line play is going to be dictated by the offense that you're running. Like what kind of O-line play we're even going to see. So I just find it interesting that there's so much smoke around offensive coordinator, and I don't hear a lick about defensive coordinator. It's almost like we don't care about defensive coordinator.
Is it possible that's how we keep Surtain?
No, I don't think so.
DC job wouldn't keep him?
Because if that was the case, I think that they would have just, instead of promoting Randy Shannon to temporary DC, then you just would have went the Surtain route off the rip. I mean, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, right. That would make more sense.
Brandon says Mike is one bad coordinator away from getting fired. Mike gets fired in 2025. We go after Lashley, Prime, or someone else. I don't think Mike gets fired in the foreseeable future. If I'm being quite, Mike would have to, the only way the boosters would fork up the money to fire him is if he repeats this season. If he repeats this season next year, you got to fire him at that point. No offense is my biggest issue with Norvell is that he should be the common denominator that makes our team better, not the assistants. Even if the new OCs does good, he's gonna be definitely a head coach after. Well, I will agree with that, no fan. If your head coach is relying on offensive coordinators to a degree, but I mean Dabo did that. I guess if you want to look at other coaches and who have had success in that manner, like Dabo wasn't 2-10 bad at Clemson. But he was fairly mediocre at Clemson until he went out and got two of the best coordinators in the business, Chad Moore and Brett Venables. And then that program took off, right? So,
but guess what? He started closing too.
Well, Dabo's never had an issue with recruiting or evaluating players.
There you go. Got if you're gonna have, if you're relying on your coach, if you're gonna be that kind of guy that relies, you got to do something. You got to do something.
I can't believe there's people that really think Randy Shannon is going to be the defensive coordinator next
year.
Bro,
stop, bro. That's not gonna happen.
That's crazy.
Stop it. Stop it. It doesn't make sense. It's not happening. It's just to get through the season. That's all. Somebody had to call the plays for the rest of the season. And nobody else was really equipped to do it just yet. Does that make sense? But
we can't outbid SMU. They have that old money.
What?
I'm so tired of money being a talking point. I don't know if any program that's spending as much money as Florida State, but we keep acting like we don't have money. FSU's got money tied up in so many different projects right now. I don't know. I don't know.
The facilities that's going up.
They've got money tied up in everything.
But somehow we ain't got the money to pay.
You don't have money, but you just made your head coach like a top 5 paid guy. You got multiple millions tied up in stadium renovations. You got multiple millions tied up in facilities. You got millions probably tied up in court. For a program that ain't got no goddamn money, but they ain't spending a lot of it.
Mike Norvell is one of the 10 highest paid federal employees. Think about that. But we ain't got no money somehow. Highest paid, obviously he's the highest paid in the state, but come on, man. Like, and I get how you might say, if you were sitting here telling us we ain't got Georgia or Texas money.
I don't know. All of a sudden SMU's rich, I guess. I mean, for SMU, I get where
they used to be filthy rich.
I get where they're at. They're in Dallas, I get all that cool stuff. But for a program that's so filthy rich, I mean, here we are. Rhett Lashley's their coach. Rhett Lashley's a solid coach, but like, look how long it took him to get a Rhett Lashley.
My bad, state employee.
Like, for a program that's supposed to have all this money, why is Rhett Lashley the first like quality coach they've had in I don't know how long? I don't know, man. I'm just talking.
I mean, it's a lot of people. It's a lot of things that we're saying here.
FSU's got plenty of money. Mike ain't used. Well, I mean, I've said that. That's one of the things That's one of the things that I said about Norvell is that the resources that has been allocated to him makes, in my opinion, this season even more egregious.
He's had more resources than Jimbo.
Mike Norvell has more resources than any coach that Florida State's ever had. And that includes Bobby Bell.
Does he have the most resources in the state, you think?
I don't think he has more than Billy does. That's just by the fact that the Gators are in the SEC, so they have doesn't have more resources than Billy.
I just don't hear a lot about, and maybe that's because I'm not listening properly. I don't hear a lot about, facilities at UF being improved, or maybe it's because it's already there. Who knows?
FSU got money, just wasting a lot of it. I mean, even your roster was a top 10 paid roster. I mean, like, even your NIL is even proven to spend the money. So again, this notion that I don't know, man. I don't want to talk about money no more because I think that's been disproven, and I don't know why we keep reverting back to money conversations when we start talking about Florida State. Like, I'm not calling Florida State the richest program in the country because they obviously are not.
I don't think that.
But money's not an issue.
I don't think there's a gap in the
money. And they've been proven
that
they're willing to pay money. Some of your favorite talking heads guys tell you that, FSU didn't go out after X player because X player wanted X amount of money. And I'm here to tell you that ain't why FSU didn't. I keep going back to that Perry kid who, when he went to Georgia Tech, everybody said, it's because he wanted $400K or whatever the dollar amount was, and FSU didn't want to pay for a project. That ain't why FSU didn't get him. They didn't get him because they lost out on a recruitment. Point blank, period. It ain't because, they didn't want to spend the money. Because if you ain't willing to spend money on a 5-star offensive lineman, then damn it, you're not willing to spend money. Money's not the issue. And I'm done talking about money. No, sir, not me. He said something funny. He says, bro, some people in this fan base need to take a walk. So many fights and arguments over the past week.
Boy.
That's because I'm going to say this, no, sir, not me. And I don't care who cares. I don't care who gets offended about what I'm about to say. That's because some of these people have a mental illness, bro. I'm very clear about my stance and what I do here on my channel. I am not an insider. I am not a person that comes out here and breaks news. I give my opinion on news that breaks. There are legit people that think they know things. And they do tell a bunch of lies to y'all, and y'all eat up the lies, and then you guys get mad that the lies were lies. I'm not gonna expose nothing, but Terrence knows exactly what I'm talking about because I share those messages that I get with him. And they have been some really bad lies. And if I had hinged the reputation of my channel on the things that people have sent me, y'all would look at me like y'all looking at some of them right now. This guy don't know what the hell he's talking about. He's an idiot.
Man. and
there's people in this. There are people that cover this team that I think have a legit sickness, bro. I think they are crazy. I don't know what's the infatuation of wanting to be an insider. I don't know what's the infatuation of wanting to be in the know when you're really not in the know. But it is what it is. And it's okay. It's okay. Do you. Do what makes you do what makes you, whatever. But I don't get involved in the arguments. I don't get involved with the beefs because it's all stupid to me. I didn't come on YouTube to get in arguments with people on top that I don't know over a team that doesn't pay me. So I'm not gonna get involved in the beefs. I just think it's crazy when I watch it. I think it's absolutely crazy.
And I think it's quite clear, like you never claimed, and obviously I know I'll never claim to be an insider on anything. Bro, we here to talk about Florida State football in our opinions. And people want to go beyond just saying their opinion and trying to have impact and influence on the masses by saying their opinion has some type of foundation that most times doesn't. And it's not just the people who y'all saying in the comments. There's a lot of people out there that do it. And it's just like, well, why? Why? Like, why do you need to belong and be that person? And like, I guess you said it's a sickness.
It's a sickness. There's people, bro. Again, and the names aren't important because just go on Twitter and you'll find them. So I don't need to call anybody out. The names aren't important. So there's
people that ain't getting called out that do it.
But there's people on Twitter who you'll say, like, I've had this happen to me where I say something and a guy will comment on my stuff and say, I said that first. And I'm like, bro, I don't even know who you are. I don't follow you. I don't care to know who you are. If you said something cool, the good cool thing about me is everything I say is it's documented. You can go watch a video from today or 4 years ago. Like, I get that all the time where I'm saying something on Twitter and somebody will come and be like, bro, I said that 3 weeks ago. Okay. Who are you again? Congratulations.
You stealing people's opinions? You can't form your own?
These people have a sickness of wanting to be like that guy. Like, bro, I don't do this full time. I do this as a hobby. I have a real job that I do every day.
Man, I have protected the country. Y'all think
and sometimes got to leave for months at a time. Like, I don't do this every day. I don't make any real money doing this, just to be clear. I don't even know how we got on this topic, but it is what it is. I don't know. That is something that probably needed to be said. So it is what it is.
It's been sitting there on the precipice needing to be said.
Yeah.
I heard it earlier.
No Fan says, I feel like we need to get a figurehead as one of these coordinators, like from the NFL or former player. These recruits won't want to be coached by people who has. I'm all for like an NFL guy. Again,
I think that's something I've said too. Like, I want some NFL guys to come in.
The former player though thing is like, I feel like that's a dead horse at this point. Like we have given that a shot. But hey. I'm all for NFL guys because they can at least. One thing I know about an NFL coach, he's going to teach them actually how to play football.
I think that's the only thing I've really ever said as far as this search is I prefer to bring in an NFL guy, OC and DC. Actually, I probably prefer an NFL guy as defensive coordinator more so than offensive. Just from like a mentality standpoint. Like you said, somebody who's gonna actually come in and teach these guys how to get to that next level.
Galaxy King, you got to stop with the hire Randy stuff, bro. Stop it. It's not happening. I know you want it, but it's not happening.
Randy, what?
Yeah. And Kenny Shaw, wide receiver coach. Y'all have to stop that crap too. That's not no.
Somebody said Ray Lewis, bro. Like, I was like, what?
So Ray Lewis, didn't he announce he's going to be coaching or something?
Is he gonna be at FAU?
I saw something. I don't know if that's official. I think that'd be cool.
I think that's cool for him to go to FAU.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
But why would he come to Florida State and be DC? He's a candidate. He said he really does. He's really interested in the job.
Do I think Lane ends up at UF? Well, Billy's definitely not getting fired. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what happens there. Probably not. Mike owes FSU at least $3 million off his contract. I hear that.
A year?
ML says somebody mentioned Shaw again. They want it. I think they just hear people say things and they want to get on the bandwagon with it. Oh
damn.
FSU needs a coach, not motivational speaker. I'm with that, dang babe. I'm with that. I think the coach. I think Mike's message has fallen death anyway. So. He needs to probably stop talking, if we're being honest. But hit the like button, guys. Okay, so the Ray Lewis thing is a rumor. Good. I mean,
he's expressed interest. It ain't just a rumor. I think
they're saying they dispelled the rumor, so I don't know.
Who did?
I don't know. A lot of that stuff I don't pay attention to. Stuff that I don't. So a wise man once said, if it doesn't make sense, it's probably not true. And that's how I approach majority of the stuff that I see or watch on the internet. Like, people be talking about stuff that I just flat out don't think is true. And so I don't pay any attention to it.
Okay.
KCS says there's a show dedicated to talking. There's a show dedicated to talking shit once a week using fourth grade mentality. Makes all FSU fans look a certain way, and I can't stand it. I'm not sure who you're talking about, but I would say don't watch it.
What show is that?
I don't know, but I would just say don't watch it.
Y'all gotta understand. I barely watch anybody but POLK.
No, I was just about to say, and this isn't even like me being like above it all. I usually don't watch. I usually don't watch a lot of people because I do like to give my own genuine opinion. So I try not to get influenced by certain things that I watch. And if I do watch people, I always watch them after the fact that I do like my own shows. But there are people that I've just completely stopped watching because they just don't know what they're talking about. And then if it doesn't really involve like football talk, then I couldn't tell you about it because I don't watch it. Like the trolling stuff is cool, it's fun, don't get me wrong, but that's not the lane that we chose over here. So I don't really watch it.
You get enough of that in the group chat.
Right. So
but yeah, it's a lot of people out there. I might catch a clip.
Let's talk about that, NK. We talked a lot about stuff that, to be honest with you, don't really matter. But who are some DC candidates? That's a great question because again, the offensive coordinator is getting a bunch of attention. I understand why it's getting a bunch of attention because your head coach is who your head coach is, and he's an offensive guy. But I feel like the defensive coordinator should be getting a little bit more attention than it's actually getting.
Yeah, I don't know who they are, man.
And me neither. That's the crazy thing. I can't even think of, like, where do you even start defensively? Like, where do you even, like, what? Okay, here's a question. Let's start it this way. What would you like to see FSU's defense from a base stance? 4-3, 4-2, 3-4, 3-3. What would you? Let's start there. What should our defense look like just from a base stance perspective? Just
me personally, I wouldn't mind seeing a 3-3-5.
3-3-5. Why? Why a 3-3?
I feel like we are in a area to recruit that type of personnel, like big athletic defensive linemen, to kind of fill that kind of role, and then have pass rushers obviously a pass rusher at third, one of the third linebacker spots. But I also think that we shouldn't be struggling to recruit linebackers the way that we do, specifically being in the state of Florida, like, and then having Georgia right there. Like, we're in a, like, as far as where our recruiting hotbeds, these are positions that we shouldn't struggle with recruiting, in my mind. So when you talk about a 3-3-5, first of all, defensive backs, I feel like that's something that we should be able to recruit without an issue.
Well,
that's we are who we are for defensive backs. But I do feel like linebackers and defensive linemen also really are.
So let me push.
There are plenty of athletes that can play well at that position here.
So we'll just go with what you said. You want a 3-3-5. How do you approach that next year? Let's assume that they go out and hire a guy that runs that. Your current caliber of linebacker on this team, how many linebackers you going to bring in the portal to theoretically run this 3-3-5?
We bringing them in to start, or you
who do you have on? You run the 3-3-5. Like, who's on the roster that can run that right now?
I think Blake can. I think Blake is okay in that situation.
That's one backer.
I personally haven't seen anything from Murphy to know. And yeah, we got one. We got one.
Did you watch the game? I'm just curious. Did you watch the game?
Charleston Southern?
Yeah.
Hell no.
Okay.
I watched a little bit.
Because
I peeked in.
I saw Murphy got a lot of playing time. Is that a guy that you think they can invest in going forward?
I've always thought he should be somebody, like, because he's going into his redshirt sophomore year. Is that what it is?
He should be a redshirt junior next year.
So he was a redshirt sophomore. Okay,
Omar has been playing solid. Again, I didn't watch Saturday. I don't know how well he played on Saturday.
I'm not a fan of Omar. I know he's had some solid flashes, but you want to know what? Omar can change my mind if he becomes a leader. And I felt like I saw him starting to try and become that type of leader at certain points in games where we were getting our ass kicked. He has to step up in other ways off the field for him to be that guy on the field. I think that's what's missing. That's actually part of what, and I don't want to put too much on Blake. I haven't seen any type of leadership from Blake, which is kind of disappointing. But I also don't feel like a freshman or a sophomore isn't capable of doing that for a team, of being a leader.
They're definitely capable, but I don't know if you heard me earlier. I just think it has to be in them. You can't just put, like, it's easy to be like, oh, we're just gonna put you in a position to lead.
Well, sometimes a position is a guy you expect to be a leader. You expect your linebacker, your Mike, to be your leader.
I think Omar is a redshirt sophomore as well, Vontae. I think so.
But you know, you expect a guy like that to be your leader. Um, you know, like you expect him to be a leader. You know, he want to be calling NFL defenses one day. You got to be able to rally your guys on and put people in the right position and do things the right way.
Do you have the defensive line to run a 3-man front?
Nah. Nah.
So I'm not sure we see a 3-man front.
You're right. Yeah. Would we have had it this year? I think it would have been a possibility this year.
You
Yeah.
probably could have ran it this year. That means you would have probably had to stand up Marvin Jones or Pat.
Pat can stand up.
You probably had better personnel to run it this year, just because you have a 6'6", 330 guy, but you're not going to have that next year. I mean, barring not knowing who you bring in the portal, and then a lot of that is just based off who you bring in the portal too.
Those guys don't grow on trees though, man.
Well, I know. I mean, as FSU has found out that these guys don't grow on trees. They grow in high school, and we've routinely ignored the high school. We've allowed Hagens to just get away with larceny, as far as I'm concerned. When it comes to high school recruiting, this is what it is.
I mean,
So I have a feeling, just based off. I mean, again, and it's a new era of college ball. So to be fair, a lot of that stuff does, because of the portal. Maybe you're not so. What's the word? Like, cemented to a particular type of play caller. So maybe you can hire a guy that runs an odd front and then go in the portal heavily and try to find the right personnel. I mean, it's definitely possible. I have a feeling they'll Florida State will continue to run a 4-man front though. I just don't know who the actual top guys for defensive coordinator are. Like, who's even available? Like the only name that is kind of being talked about, and I think the only reason he's really being talked about is because he has ties to the linebacker that we were recruiting, Wallace, is the defensive coordinator at Arkansas.
I mean, dude, like, something has to be done, man. That's all I'm saying.
Tony says a 4-2-5 me. DB is the strength of this defense, and we got young guys we gonna try to keep. Makes sense.
Okay.
You do have a ton of young DBs that you probably want to keep.
Yeah.
You probably do want to keep these guys. So
my thing is another part of why
but a 3-3-5 can serve that same purpose. So
and the reason why I say 3-3-5 is because we do have some of those lighter DNs who can move around a little bit. I think Boots, a 3-3-5 fits Boots.
That's a guy that he didn't get any playing time against Charleston Southern. Tells me, I guess he's maybe not just ready to play, or maybe there's something else going on there. But I know Aaron Hester got in there.
They put in everybody.
Yeah, they did. They put in a lot of young guys.
They put in like 7 running backs.
Let me go. Let me check here again.
Hey, man, by the way, I applaud you not going live yesterday.
Oh, I wasn't going to do it.
It wasn't deserved, bro. Like, it was Charleston Southern. Man.
So let's see. D.D. Holmes got some snaps yesterday. Kai Bates, Denaz White got in the game. Marion Cooper, Makari Menzer. I don't even know who that is.
Who?
He's a D lineman. Malachi Menzer.
He must be like a senior.
Got to be a walk-on. Byron Turner.
Like a walk-on senior?
Yeah,
You
something
think?
like that. Yeah, I don't
God.
see Boots.
Dante Anderson, Nas White, D.D. Holmes. Yeah. Maybe he wasn't feeling well. Didn't didn't Willie Suarez get to break the rock?
Hold up, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Let me go back. That was on the season. Let me go back. That was not.
I'm looking at that game.
Okay, let's try this again. Jamori Flagg got in the game. Dante Anderson got in the game. Grant Fielder, don't know who that is. Denaz White, D.D. Holmes. Ashland. Donnie Hebert, have no idea who that is. AJ Cottrell, I know who that is. He's
Murphy got a lot of.
Murphy played a lot. Yeah, no Boots, so I don't know. I don't know if that's something to look at and like be concerned about, or if not a big deal, you know.
I don't. Maybe he wasn't well, or I don't know. That'd be really weird though, if he's healthy and he didn't get on the field.
Dante Anderson did play. Haven't seen Hussey in a while. I think Boots played. I seen 45 on the field. Okay, so maybe he did play. He didn't get any stats, but maybe he was out there. Again, I didn't watch the game, so everything I'm looking at is just the box score. Hussey, I think he was listed out with the injury, so no, he didn't play yesterday. Chris Hampton, everybody's talking about Chris Hampton. I guess he's the co-DC in Oregon. My only pushback to a guy like that is how much of that is Dan Lanning? And, because Dan Lanning's a defensive guy, like how much of the success is Lanning and how much is it Hampton? I guess that'd be my only pushback.
The only NFL guy I heard was Jim Leonard.
I mean, that's a name that there's a couple names when the news first broke that I talked about. I don't know if FSU is actually targeting any of these guys, but like Muschamp, who serves an off-field role at Georgia, like if you can't get that guy from an off-field role at Georgia,
great, man.
What are we doing? Muschamp, again, Jim Leonard was another name I brought up. I thought maybe Venables could be available. He just beat Bama, so he's probably not going anywhere.
Hell, Bama 3 points.
Yep, so he's probably not going anywhere.
Hell, when you got two guys running for 130 yards each. Them boys ran the ball like 60 times, man. I think it was about 60 times total they ran the ball. That's crazy.
Freshman linebacker got in. Can't remember his name, but he needs to transfer yesterday. It's probably DeMarco Ward is probably who you're talking about. Again, didn't watch, but if you're telling me a freshman, I'm thinking DeMarco Ward. That's a guy who, when they recruited him, I wasn't a fan. Wasn't a fan. So.
Why? That's crazy.
Did FSU start breaking the rock? Because I see a lot of Mike Norvell brought that from Memphis. I don't know who broke rocks or didn't break rocks before that. I just know Mike Norvell. That's something he brought with him. Panama. I'm not sure who else does it. We wonder the same about Kirby. I mean, that's fair. We did wonder the same about like Kirby. Well, not necessarily Kirby. If you want to say Kirby and Lanning, I would agree with that. I think Kirby kind of solidified himself. So I don't know.
I don't know where.
If we get the SMU guy, the defense gives up 22 points per game on average. Like, it's not that much better than Fuller. I say he's at. So when I'm looking at defense, Tony, in modern college football, 22 points a game, that's pretty good. What's more important is generating like turnovers, the aggressiveness of which the defense plays. Is he blitz heavy? I'm not so much focused on the 22 points per game. Like, in 2025 going forward, if you're holding a team to 22 points, you should be able to win that football game. So for me, I don't really look at the points per game and go, that's a good or bad defense. Unless it's obviously like you're giving up 40-some points a game, then yeah. But 22 points a game. Now let's talk about how we got to the 22 points. Are we blitzing? What's what's the scheme look like? How's the D-line play? There's a lot of confusion, a lot of motion on defense. Are we stunting? What are we doing? That's what I'm kind of more concerned about, not so much just 22 points a game.
Fuller's giving that up, and he's playing safe.
And he's playing vanilla. So that's why he needed to go.
Like, that's the problem here. Like, if you're giving it up
100%.
because somebody got beat somebody blew an assignment on a gamble, okay. Because you're also now getting turnovers, you're pushing the ball back, you're getting better field position for your offense because you are gambling. You're not, they got, 8 plays, we finally got to stop, and, they kick the field goal. Or, 4, 5, 6 plays, and then they punt it from their 50-yard line. And that's what we were getting a lot of from. That's if we were stopping them on third down.
Yeah, I want to know how the 22 looks. Again, I hear you with this, like, number 50 in the country. I'm not gonna necessarily debate none of that. I would ask, what's the talent look like on SMU's defense compared to Florida State?
Well, there's that.
So there's a lot of factors that go into some of this stuff.
You can't tell me SMU's roster is more talented than.
No, it's not. It's not.
Like,
what are we gonna have to do to stop the Gators? Huh? Fat boy.
We don't have to recall our NFL players.
I think the defense will play hard to start the game off. If you want to talk a little bit about that game, I think the defense will play hard at the beginning of that game.
Right.
But you guys have watched this football team. The offense will be inept from the opening snap. And at some point, the defense will not give a damn. At some point, the defense will be like, well, we gave it a tough few drives. And that'll be that.
Here tiring myself out.
Just like they did against Notre Dame, just like they did against Miami. The defense came to play in a lot of those games. So the offense can't sustain anything. And eventually, defense wears down. Eventually, guys stop playing hard. They quit, if we're just going to be honest. Like, and I don't necessarily.
And that's a tough thing to say, man. To say they quit when you you can call it quit. Like, when you get so tired to a certain point, like, it's just like, dang, like, I can try and run this down, but I know I got to stay on the goddamn field for like another half. And I know
it's hard to get angry. It's hard to get angry at the defense. And I'm not talking about the scheme. Like, Fuller's gone, thank God. I'm talking about it's hard to get angry at the players necessarily on defense when they know. Everybody watching a Florida State game knows the offense is about to go 3 and out. Not only are they going to go 3 and out, they're probably going to average negative yards on that offensive drive. How much do you expect the defense? Like, what? If it was me, I'd be like, man, the hell with this. I'm not going out there breaking my neck.
Bro, the defense isn't about the pitch shutouts, bro. Like,
not this year's for sure. What's going on, Momo? Maurice, do we snag Hurd from FAU? I do not think so. They may try. You got to remember, FSU pushed Hurd out of the class because they thought foolishly that KJ Bolden was going to be in this class. But then they allowed themselves
to be more careful.
Exactly. They allowed themselves to push Hurd out because they thought they had KJ. Yeah. How did that work out?
I feel like I said at one point that I actually really liked him.
If I'm Hurd, do I circle back to a team that basically didn't want me? Probably not. He's probably going to have some solid teams looking for his services. So, and I don't know if FSU necessarily needs to go get another DB out of the portal. Like, we can kind of stop on that.
I think we're actually pretty solid there. Now, mind you, that's assuming that
I
we don't
think
have
so
like
too.
a ton of transfers.
Right. Assuming guys don't transfer, but I want to see the growth in Earl Little, who I think was playing well.
He's going to be a really solid safety.
At safety. I want to see KJ Kirkland continue to grow at safety. I'm not ready to give up on Conrad Hussey, even though people have hated the way he's played. I'm not saying he's played well this year, but sophomore slumps are a thing, and we're so quick to go, "Oh, Hussey, you suck. Get out of here." No. That's a true sophomore who's having a sophomore year. Like, these things happen. I'm not ready to give up on these guys. I don't think we need to circle Hurd. If he's interested, then okay, you can vet that.
Yeah.
But I don't even think he's going to be interested.
I wouldn't be if I was him.
I wouldn't be either. You didn't want me initially. Why would I want to circle back to you when now a bunch of teams are going to be interested in me?
Exactly. And he didn't even play ball out at FAU, but he did play well enough. And I think it was said in our chat,
he played well for a true freshman.
He showed up and he played well enough that he's going to show up and be there. He's somebody. He has accountability and you can count on him. But at the same time, I remember I mentioned, I think in that conversation, I mentioned whether or not Dion would go after him. And I mean, if he's willing to come to Florida State, why wouldn't he be willing to go to Colorado?
I'm pretty sure, knowing how Dion does things, that he will have a conversation with CJ Hurd. I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure that'd be a thing.
Whole conversation, because he ain't going to his house.
No, they'll fly him to Boulder, but
fly him out to Boulder on the PJ. Nice little visit.
Well, remember, Amari Harvey went to Auburn first, KCS, and then he transferred to Georgia Tech. But that's a Tallahassee guy, right there. We need that accountability. I don't disagree that we need the accountability. Just where's it gonna? Is it gonna come from the DC, the players? I'm not so sure, but we'll wait and see.
Who's to blame the most, coaches or the players, or both?
For what?
I think he's talking about just for the season.
Who asked that? That Fat Boy says, who's to blame the most? If we're talking about for this season, then this blame is entirely on the coaching staff.
Mike Norvell in particular.
I said this 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever the case. I'm done talking about players because the players aren't putting themselves on the field. Period.
They ain't calling these
Kentron Portier. Kentron Portier is not coming to the games every Saturday and saying,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't care what Mike says. I'm getting on the football field. Like, he's not doing that. Darian Williamson wasn't doing that. Kyle Morlock.
Darian Williamson ain't telling these freshmen, hey, sit down, young blood.
Kyle Morlock didn't continue to get on the field because he just had that pull. No.
Bro, I don't get that. Because they
kept putting him out there.
And they went back to him after having success with Logan and Amari out there.
That's my point. So, yes, players haven't played great.
Like, seeing Courtney on the field this late in the season is perplexing. Like,
Maurice Smith hasn't played great, but I don't want to talk about Maurice Smith no more. You know why?
That ain't his fault.
You've had 5 years to replace Maurice Smith, and you failed to do it. Maurice Smith is who he is, and we continue to put him out there.
That man just trying to play football, bro.
I don't give a damn about the players, if I'm being blunt.
Maurice Smith out there playing football, man. Leave Maurice Smith
I know
alone,
people say, you got to blame both. No, I blame the coaches.
Nope.
In every facet, I blame the coaches. You didn't coach them up. You didn't have them prepared. And you didn't develop them. And you didn't recruit well enough to replace the guys that weren't developing.
I don't even think that, bro. I do not think that these players were bad recruits that are not getting on the field, bro. I truly believe it's simply a development issue with the coaches, bro. You cannot tell me these guys are bad players, bro. You
Benke
can't.
says coaches haven't addressed poor high school recruiting from year one, poor evals, putting all the chips in on transfer portal, poor development. It's all on. I'm with you, and it all starts with the head man. The same way last year, everybody was like, "Okay, Mike Norvell, coach of the year." We gave him the praise he deserved after 13-0, 13-1, whatever you want to call last season. I still pretend like the Orange Bowl didn't happen. But that same energy that everybody was all over Mike's nuts, yeah, we're going to get the same energy now that you're 2-10. You're to blame for this, what we're seeing. Jones, Cypress, and two others didn't play, and you couldn't tell. Well, they
because we were playing Charleston Southern.
Yeah, they played Charleston Southern. Yeah. All of the experienced O-line should. I agree.
Shit,
I agree.
There,
Maurice Smith should have been recruited over by now. Darius Washington should have been recruited over by now. Jeremiah Byers should have been moved into guard or recruited over by now.
We thought we did. We thought we did, bro.
With who? They never. No, they haven't brought in one guy in the offense. When I say
not Maurice.
When I say recruited, there's nobody that they recruited that was a day one guy.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
And then I still talk about, to this day, I still go back and I still talk about that class that Atkins brought in, that he's kind of, his claim to fame was that huge offensive line class. There's only 2 players left from that class. One guy never gets on the field, and Julian Armella. The other guy, Jalen Early, the highest graded offensive lineman on the whole team. He plays sparing snaps. They rotate him in and out. Some games he starts, some games he don't even get on the field. That's all coaching. That's all coaching.
Yeah, they're giving people breathers, bro.
So you brought in 6 O-linemen that year. Only 2 guys from that class remain on the team, and only 1 guy actually sees the field at all. That's Atkinson's claim to fame, and in my opinion, that's what got him fired, and it should have got him fired. Just that situation right there in and of itself. How you bring in 6 O-linemen and you don't develop one of them?
Well, he's gone.
It's egregious. Did Mike give his assistants too much say-so, meaning he wants to call a certain play? Thompson says, okay, Morlock, get out there. Atkins said, okay, Byers, get out. I don't know. But I blame the coach. I blame the head coach, because if I'm Mike Norvell and I've watched 21 drop 3 passes in a row, there's no damn way 21 going to see on my field again. I don't give a damn what Dugan say. You go sit your ass on the bench.
You know, he know the routes. He know the plays.
I don't care about none of that.
I'd rather have them young boys out there running the wrong routes than him out there dropping the passes. Like,
you can be the best route runner in the world. If the ball hits your hands and it hit the floor, what are we doing?
Bricks.
What are we doing?
Bricks.
Span, I don't even know if Span's still on the team. I haven't heard of Deuce Span in a while.
Wasn't he injured?
I have no idea. He smokes a mean cigar. Jalen Early better than Byers, and Atkins keeps starting. Yeah, I mean, the proof's in the pudding with Early. He's graded out better than Byers. Again, that's why I sat here and said it's all on the coaches. I know we want to talk about players, and I'm not saying players haven't played poorly. They absolutely have played poorly. But the coaches keep putting them out there. The coaches keep putting them in positions. And if you're telling me that no one other than those players are ready to play, well, then that's on you too, because you haven't prepared. At Florida State, the second and third man aren't ready to play. That's an issue. This isn't Duke, who you lost to. This isn't Memphis, who you lost to. Your second and third string, not only should they be ready to play, they should be competing damn near as good as your starter. I mean, that's the Florida State that I watched. Well, you didn't know who the backup was, because the backup came in and sometimes would look better than the starter.
Like that, why we not playing him?
But I understand that is no longer the FSU that exists.
Remember when we was like 8 receivers deep?
Tony says, the QB position, do y'all see it as a situation where we must go someone from the portal, or you think with the revamped O-line, some skill position guys, portal, new offense? So I said this at actually the beginning of the stream, Tony. I think with the new OC, I think there's probably a decent chance they go after a portal. I personally, I want to believe that the quarterback is already on the roster. You got 3 guys, Glenn, Cronin, Hogan, Jackson. Figure it the hell out. Invest that money into completely revamping your O-line and your defensive line. Because quarterbacks aren't cheap. So if I got to spend half of my NIL just on a quality quarterback, what's it going to matter when he's getting punched in the mouth every time he snaps the ball? It's not going to matter. What's it going to matter if because the run blocking so atrocious, we can't establish a run game for the quarterback?
It wasn't so a Philly fault.
And it's easy to say, well, just get a mobile quarterback. Okay. That sounds good in theory. I want to believe that the quarterback's on the roster currently and that we can use those resources to fill out the rest of the things around him.
Luke been running for his life, bro.
When he decides to run, he's very shell-shocked a lot of the times, too.
He does run like a baby gazelle.
Yeah. Luke shouldn't be on the field. Luke is not ready to play college football. That doesn't mean he's a bad player. It doesn't mean he's terrible. He just isn't ready to play right now. There was a time where you sat quarterbacks for 2 to 3 years before you could put them out there. I know times have changed, but Luke is not ready.
Luke, all right. So I'm gonna put this out here. Brock ain't the answer for me. Luke has the potential to be. I don't know anything about Trevor because we haven't seen him on the field. To be honest, that's just hope and wish that he has some talent that we can put out there at some point. But at this point, like I said earlier, you kind of like writing it in Luke as the starter currently at quarterback, and you need to figure out a way to develop him this offseason as well as like protect him. Figure out what you got to do to give him time to be able to make the throws that he needs to throw, make the decisions he needs to make. Whether that's establishing a run game in a great way, and okay, we're a team that's running the ball 30, 35 times a game, then that's what it is. But I think he's our best option at quarterback. That's my opinion. Like,
I mean, I hear you. I don't know who's the best option. I'm not giving up on either. Not nan 3 of them. For all I know, Jackson could come out there, depending on who the OC is, and be the best option. Boy, did you just see that play by Verse?
I'm actually not watching.
I'm not watching either. I'm just watching this highlight. He just bull rushed whoever that was at 68 for the Eagles. Like, just
68 on the Eagles?
Yeah.
That would be impressive. Hold on now.
Like, I'm talking about put him on his ass. Oh, I remember, man. I wish he was still in garnet and gold, but man, go make that money. Go make that money.
Oh, we got spoiled, boy.
Yeah. But yeah, I want to believe that. I want to believe that quarterback's on the roster. I want to believe with the right OC out of those 3 players, blue chip players. Like all 3 of those guys were 4-star players. I know one guy's a walk-on, but he was a 4-star.
4-star guy.
I want to believe out of those 4 stars, you can find a guy to play quarterback for you. That's what I want to believe, Tony, to answer that question. KCS says, bro, Bama got Ryan Williams, a 17-year-old kid, and just says get open. That dude might be better than Jeremiah. Pump the brakes. He's not better than Jeremiah.
Mailata?
Oh, did you see the play? Yeah, he just manhandled. He just manhandled, dude.
Bro, that dude 6'8", 360.
Yeah, he just destroyed him. But pump the brakes. He's not better than Jeremiah, but he's a hell of a freshman, bro. Don't get it twisted. I don't think Ryan Williams is better than Jeremiah, though, personally. If you want to make a case for him, you can. But I just don't think so. Josh Sweat just got a sack. Yeah, again, there's a time when, again, we just used to pump out defensive ends like Josh Sweat. And that's from Jimbo days. We don't.
Josh Sweat was light where he wasn't even.
He's had a way better pro career than he had a college career.
Yeah.
That's because of that knee and, but yeah.
He went through some, he was a 5-star guy, right?
Oh, he was at one point the number 1 player in the country. And then he tore his knee up and he fell, but he kept the 5 stars, but he fell. How many 4 to 5 stars D linemen, D ends, linebackers FSU recruited from high school in the past 10 years? I'm not even going to go down that road with you, Keith. I've done plenty of videos on that.
Don't do it.
Heard DJ apply for a medical redshirt. Is that true? I don't know if it's true. If I'm DJ, I would have done the same thing. If his goal is to try to make it to the NFL, but he better go somewhere else. I don't need him here.
Yeah, he's not going to be the quarterback here. But then again, who knows what Mike Norvell is thinking?
POLK, Patrick Payton is the definition of what's wrong with FSU. Because I understand the coaches are bad, but you as the player have to work hard to physically look apart. He looked like a freshman. What I will say to what you're trying to say, Noel, is I get what you're saying. I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying. I think NIL has played a lot of part in guys like Patrick Payton. There was a time when a Patrick Payton doesn't get what's the word, Terrence? Comfortable, right? Doesn't get complacent. But when a guy's cashing a six-figure check, I guess, in college now, there's definitely some complacency that's going to kick in with some of these guys.
Them silk pillow cases.
I can't 100% say that's what happened with Patrick Payton. I personally still think a lot of problems with Patrick Payton is just how he was used. Like, go watch it. They did not, you have a guy who should be rushing the passer consistently, and they had him standing up, setting the edge most times. If you don't believe me, just go watch it. And I understand that concerns people. I also understand when Pat Payton got chances to make plays, a lot of times he would miss the sack. I get all of that. But a lot of that just has to come with, in my opinion, the way he was used. So for me, it just continues to go back to the coaching. Is there some part that the players get complacent? Sure. And that's going to happen when you start giving 17, 18-year-old, 20-year-olds that much money and they ain't made it yet. I think a lot. I still reverts to the coaching to me. Will an NFL O-line coach at FSU want to recruit? Will an NFL O-line coach? I mean, if you're gonna hire him, he better want to recruit. But I made that point about NFL coaches consistently. It's hard to get NFL coaches because the gig's too good. Most guys are in the NFL because they don't want to chase around a 16-year-old and tell him he's God's gift to the universe. Here's the BS I hate about Mike. Last snap of the game, you put Trevor Jackson out there and actually called a play for him to run.
I saw that 2 yards rushing by Trevor Jackson, bro. Like,
credible
you could
detailing.
have gave that to somebody else.
Appreciate the super chat for credible detailing. Says, what up, POLK and T? It's Chris Orlando on the check-in. Shout out to my man, Credible Detailing, with the $9.99. I appreciate the support. As always, you always come in here showing love. And I am now officially sponsored by Credible Detailing.
Let's go.
Bitch, be humble. Bitch, sit down. Be humble. Sit down.
Gotta love it.
POLK, how would you feel about going after Charlie Strong? Man, stop.
What did you say?
If this was 2009, yeah, let's go after Charlie Strong. Like, no.
Are you related? Like,
Hell no.
let's go.
Is it all about how much money players receive? The main initiative is how well they play. Is it all about how much money players receive? The main initiative is how well they play. Well, it should be about how well they play. That's the point that I'm making, is they're getting this money before they prove it. That's the point I'm trying to make. So that's where the complacency kicks in.
I think Pat got paid off what he had done and what they felt he could do this year for the team.
No, I'm not saying that he didn't deserve it. I'm saying that he got it and thought he made it. And that's human nature, is what I'm saying. Like, they've all said it. Marvin Hagler said it the best. It's hard to get up and do that training, run 10 miles, get ready to have someone punch you in the face when you already laying on silk sheets. The fire the fire leaves you. Mike Tyson said that Mike Tyson's son told him he wanted to box. Mike Tyson said, "You're not a boxer, and I'm not going to let you box." Do you want to know why I'm not going to let you box? Because you grew up in this $1 million mansion that you don't have that
You're
to
not
box.
hungry enough.
Mike Tyson was an animal from the time he was a child, unfortunately, just a product of his circumstances, right? But that's what made him the most dangerous man at the time when he was in his prime. The point is, Pat, that fire, just human nature got lost, I think, and not just him, but some other guys. When they got paid, that hunger left them. And to some guys, it happens. To some guys, it makes them hungrier. So like Momo said, like Conor McGregor. Why Conor McGregor made that money off of that Floyd Mayweather fight, and he's basically been trash since. Why do you think that? Because he don't need
out there cashing checks.
He don't need the fight game anymore. He just do it to get a little check every now and then. That's just the way it is.
But listen, I actually got to cut out a little bit early.
Okay, I've already been on 2 hours, so I'm about to cut out here soon.
I appreciate y'all time, man. I don't have anything positive to say. I'm not gonna try and spit anything.
Hey man, we won a game. Be happy. Dang, you're not a real Noel.
It's fucking Charleston Southern, bro. I'm mad we ain't put up 60.
You're not a real Noel. Get out of here.
Y'all take it easy, man. I'm out.
All right, bro.
Be safe.
We'll finish up here with a couple more questions, and I got to head out myself. I don't have to, but I will. I have been on here for about 2 hours. We need either Lane or Dion. I wouldn't, maybe I've turned the corner on Dion. You can't deny what he's done at Colorado. And I ain't gonna lie to you guys. I would love to see him in Garnet and Gold. And here's what I'll say in regards to Dion. Why I would, well, for one, Mike Norvell's my head coach. That's one reason why I'm not against having Deion Sanders, because he can't be any worse than 2-9 Mike Norvell. That's number one. Number two, I do believe that there's something to playing that CEO role. I do believe Deion would be able to get NFL guys on your staff. Deion himself can be the recruiter, right? He doesn't necessarily need to have elite recruiters around him because he recruits himself, or his essence. Kids will want to gravitate to that, as we see. So in that aspect, I would not be against Deion for sure. I mean, prove me wrong, and I'm not ashamed to say that I'm wrong about something. And Deion, in his second year at Colorado, has proved me wrong. And again, never said he wouldn't be successful. Just didn't like the way he was building out that roster. But it's worked. It's worked. We need either Lane. Okay, I read that one. Money shouldn't be discussed until they're played at least 3 games. POLK, appreciate you bringing the show. After Saturday's game, I believe we need to address the D-line more than the O-line. What's your thoughts? Bro, I think they are both equally as important, KCS. And I appreciate that $20 bomb, dog. That is love right there. And I appreciate you guys who come in, kick it with me, show love. Thank you so much.
Clickety clank, the money goes into my piggy bank.
But my thoughts are, I think they're both equally as important. And y'all know how I am about the D-line. I'm sick that our D-line, I've been sick for years now about our D-line, and just the fact that we don't recruit the right amount of guys, and the right caliber of guys, I should say. But that O-line's got to get fixed. That O-line's so bad. You couldn't have told me at the beginning of the O-line. Again, I'm watching the clips I watched from the Charleston Southern game. Our O-line can't do the basics. Our O-line can't block one-on. Our O-line looks like a Pop Warner O-line. It completely breaks down as soon as the ball snaps. Like, it's crazy. I got to get our O-line fixed. In a perfect world, NIL would be incentive grid. I agree. You don't get paid until you have X amount of stats. It should absolutely be incentive-based, Vontae. It should be going forward. In the perfect world, 100%. You don't cash in on your NIL if you don't achieve 8 sacks. Based on prior performances, this is what we expect going forward. I agree with Vontae on that. We need to look over in Hawaii and find a dual threat QB. 3 games. Think I've come around on Dion too. Hopefully he's available in 2027. POLK, Patrick Payton also doesn't have a lot. I agree with that, Keith. 100% I agree with that. I do think Pat is a product of having great players around him. I 100% agree with that. I agree with that. And the O-line blocks, but they can't block Ghost. That's the thing. Casper had 10 sacks on his O-line. It's ridiculous. And Charlie Partridge as D-line coach. Hey, man, good show tonight, man. I'm glad I had a pretty good turnout. I appreciate everybody who came in, kicked it with me. I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. Have a great rest of your Sunday. As always, is your boy, POLK. Well, before we close it out, one more time, like button, subscribe if you're new, share the video to a Florida State fan who isn't aware of what we do over here on 863 Seminole TV, the most interactive show for the Florida State YouTube fan or Florida State football fan on YouTube. None of the BS over here. None of the beefs, none of the stupidness, none of the lies. Just genuine conversation. As always, it's your boy POLK on 863 Seminole TV. Stay classy, and we out here. Go Noles.